proposal of that with a few architects, and they have appreciated it. And in that entire sense of being, these proposals were very simple. I mean, we created like a basic toilet for a village, or even like a marketplace with a simple vaulted structure made of these bricks. And that was appreciated a lot. And I think we've been also selected to be showcased at the London Biennale 2021. So the way I see these bricks is that it can tie into the idea of CSR very, very strongly, and actually extend out to become part of the community's infrastructural requirements. And it doesn't need to get involved into, like, say, a private construction per se, but it definitely has a lot of potential in public infrastructure, even sort of river bed developments or embankments or things like that.
Thank you, Sridhar, and thank you for helping us in this journey to take this product. Because as mechanical engineers, we would never have imagined that a material like this, which is waste lying in a foundry or plastic lying on the streets, could reach to an international competition, and that's
Well,
your
this is
vision.
just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I'm so excited about this product that I can,
Yeah.
I can.
Because a lot of architects have been asking us, and there have been a lot of interest of because first thing when people talk about is they talk about, can you use it inside the building, and then my first reaction is, why are we thinking only inside the building? So as an architect, you have always talked about landscaping or using an exterior, and I think we had one discussion on how we can do this for cladding.
Exactly.
So you have been able to imagine a lot of things. So of course, you'll be available if there are some questions which you can answer from the architectural perspective.
One needs to also,
one of the verticals.
Actually, I'm just trying to create the perspective around it. One need to understand the scale of this, the quantum of this waste, if I can call that, that we need to confront and actually start working with. India is pretty much 10% of the world's casting and forging industry, and we generate almost 4.3 million tons of this particular waste every year, metric tons of this waste every year. So it's a huge amount of carbon dust we're talking about. And if there is a way to somehow utilize it to create a raw material or a building block for pushing the infrastructure of the country, I think that's definitely something that we can look forward to.
Could you also share from your perspective as an architect that there are questions on the cost and viability, and where and how would you, because you talk of green building and you talk of carbon credits, certain green credits, would this kind of material also connect with that purpose?
Definitely, but I think we've had this discussion quite for a few years now. This is not a product that is something you can buy off the shelf in a market. Okay, this is a product which is a result of an industry generating X amount of waste, and within that waste, they are able to. It's a solution towards trying to utilize that particular waste, and thereby their infrastructural vision, and effectively tackle two problems together. One is the sustainability or the waste management part of it, and the other is the the requirement to provide a certain amount of infrastructure to the rural India or the middle India. So it involves it's not something that I can buy off of Amazon. I don't think it is that sort of a product, but it's a far more greater outreach product. I mean, there can be bifurcations, but what I'm saying is that architecturally, the volume required is much larger. So maybe if you go for a niche product or two, that can be available on Amazon. But if I were to like build a low cost housing with this particular product, then I'm looking at tying up with industry majors who are actually generating this as a waste product, which they have no idea how to utilize. And then, maybe the government or an agency becoming the platform to tie both of these together, so that you can then, take it into another form and make it a sustainable, viable economic solution
Sure.
for everybody.
Right. So taking the cue from that, whether this product will be available on Amazon or can it be a commodity product, we'll look at the second product, which actually talks about that. And let me give the floor to Nihar, who is a young educationist entrepreneur, has a lot to offer. So Nihar, it's all yours. Tell us what you are doing with your social impact startup with SPB.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone. So I remember the first time I heard of this SPB of solar tile bricks, wood, upcycling, plastic, and dust. So first thing you see, you're in awe because you don't really understand what's happening, what's being recycled, what's being upcycled. So the products that Rhino was making, or SPB in itself, was anyway amazing, right? But when I saw the brick or when I saw the tile, my first instinct or my first thought was, what can we do with it? Because I know the tile can go or the brick can be used by in construction, you can build a wall with it. But what am I going to do with it? And that's the first thought that came to my mind, as how can we extend the use of the same thing? Anvesha primarily being a vocational center. So what we have is, we're into education. We educate children. We're into alternative education. We provide vocational education where our kids learn fabrication, right? They learn mechanical welding, they learn fabrication. So they've been learning and creating different products out of it. So SPB for us was more like an extension of what we've been doing. We are a startup, we are a social impact organization. So we had to weave all of the things together. So when I saw brick, what I saw was something like this. So I'm just showing you something of a sample, right? So this is a brick to someone's, or probably an architect's eyes, but to me, it was this piece of art or a utility product. I saw there were two holes in this thing, the brick that I saw. And I was like, why can't I grow plants in it? Right. And that's how the thought process began. And that's how we took things forward from there, that we bought the entire SPB, different tools, the bricks, the tiles, we took from Rhino machines. We started fabricating on it, and we started upcycling the upcycled material. So while we did not understand, okay, the properties, is it stronger, is it more durable, the questions that we asked were, can it be used as a furniture, can it be durable, can it replace wood, can it replace a lot of metal that we are using in the products that we are creating? So those were the questions that we had in our head, and we tried it out. We created a lot of samples, we created a lot of prototypes, we reached out to the market. We sold some of them. We sold some of them. We started replacing at our homes, right? We started replacing our coffee table with our SPB stool. And from there on, the journey has been limitless. Every day we come up with a product idea that can be utilized at our homes, at our offices, at schools, at institutions, right? We've come up with a planter, we've come up with foldable stools that you can just fold and carry in your cars. So we've thought from that perspective on how we can make every SPB product into a consumer or a utility product that we can use at our house. The beautiful thing about this that we wanted to do was, we wanted to integrate everything, sustainability, environment, into the vocational education program. So we want the kids to be aware of this. We want the next generation, the young people, to be aware of how this works, what can be done, how each member can be a contributor to the entire cycle. So we took the entire SPB plastic project to schools, so to different government schools, and we set up eco schools for them. So that's something that that's our Anvesha story when it comes to plastic upcycling and working with the entire waste to wealth team at Rhino. And so there have been 2-3 things we have done, right? We've made a lot of mistakes. So I know it is a very big temptation for a lot of young people like me कि बहुत अच्छा idea है, amazing idea, and we want to take it forward. Why not just do it as it is, and I can go pitch it as a startup idea and raise funding as the first thing. So my tip to you would be, think it out, do your due diligence, try out different things, work out the models properly. Don't just write down everything on a concept paper and start pitching it to different people just because you think this is something that there's a market for or there's a good social good for. You have to connect all the dots before you start thinking on those lines. And so we've done that. We've been invited by the government to present. We are looking at it as a startup to pitch it to different models, take it out pan India now to replicate what we've been doing, to replicate the entire furniture line that we've been creating. And we've already set up our e-commerce to connect the entire cycle that I'm talking about. So yes, like the question, can you buy it off Amazon? In near future, yes, but you can definitely just buy it off our e-commerce platform that we have today, or our website. You can just order something from there and we'll create it for you, right? And if you, any of you, if you're thinking of doing something that we've been doing, creating or setting up your own thing as extending the SPB into your premises or taking it up as your entrepreneurial journey, reach out to us. We'll be happy to share the entire process we've gone through. Reach out to us for all the designs that we've come up with, because there's a lot of research that's gone into it, a lot of testing and redesigning, a lot of stuff that's gone into it. So we'll be happy to work with you and walk with you in this journey. So yes, that's what we've been doing. And mind you, all our furniture is being created by our students that are at our center or learning vocational education with us. So that's how we connect the dots.
Thank you, Nihar, for
You're
sharing.
on mute,
And, yeah, thank you for sharing. And so let me go back to the third. My friend, I think, is not been able to join, but there's a third story about this journey, or if I call it as a solution, where we are in the process of partnering with one NGO who is being funded by a CSR, and they are having an MOU with a Gram Panchayat who will be providing the land with impact possibilities of talking about employment and recycling, converting that waste. So there are different models which can go along with this project. That is what we have been able to see in our journey. So this is the third project, product which we were able to. We expect this to be done by maybe end of this month or early next month, where in Nagpur, Vasudev Mishra is a social entrepreneur, and he's just joined in. So Vasudev, welcome in from your busy time. Vasudev, are you able to talk to us? So he's a young, I think he's the youngest of us, social entrepreneur based out of Nagpur, with whom we have been discussing about, and he's been a very active socially into the environmental system in Nagpur. So Vasudev, could you share what you are doing in Nagpur with the SPP project?
Yes, so we have got a CSR opportunity at Parker Hannifin Limited. We have a small village called Baroda near Nagpur, where we are setting up SPB with the help of CSR project funded by Parker Hannifin Limited, and it will be maintained and will be operational with collaboration with Gram Panchayat of Baroda, funded by Parker Hannifin, and maintained and monitored by Swachh Association, through which we are facilitating the CSR. Since this CSR aims towards management of solid waste, which includes plastics and other waste like foundry dust. So we have proposed this thing to CSR, and it almost in a process to get it approved, and we will be soon starting the commissioning of project by the first week of April.
So what are the, basically, when you are looking at this project, what are the key impact areas that you are looking at in your project?
So one of the major things
what is of interest to the CSR? Why would a CSR be
right?
this
So most of the companies who are into manufacturing, or who are into who are consuming energy, or their waste is a biggest problem. So they are looking for sustainability solution under their CSR, where they can showcase how their CSR department has utilized their CSR fund into something, creating any sustainable solutions, or facilitating any sustainable solutions, or using one of their wastes or one of their resources or waste resources into that sustainable practice. So I'll say on a general note, if a practice which is showing a sustainable practice, or which is which comes under the CSR policies of that company, I think that's how we got SPB, the idea of SPB, into the conversation with Parker, in which we are solving two of their problems. One is the problem of their waste plastic coming out of their factory, and second, this is their first time that they are doing such an initiative through one of their units here in Nagpur. So the village through which they were working, they want to create livelihood in that village. Now, since SPB will be set up in that village, so secondly, livelihood will be generated, as well as a lot of waste will be processed through this plant, which will be set up there.
So thank you, and we do look forward to see this becoming successful, and
absolutely, sir.
This becoming an example of how a multi-stakeholder initiative can be put together.
Yes, yes.
It's a very important solution that
so
we do
just
hope
to put it
together.
on a general side, we are saying this is a three-party arrangement, where we have seen implementing SPB will be in the Gram Panchayat itself, the local body, who will be running the thing with the help of the people in that village. Swachh Association will be maintenance as well as operational partner, where we will be overlooking and channelizing the funds, as well as managing all the due diligence for that project. And Parker will be the funding agency through their CSR funds.
So these are the perspectives on the product. So there can be so many different ways of working on this project.
Yes.
And we are still experimenting. So we wanted to share with everybody. Then there were a few questions we had requested people to share their views, and there were a few questions. So just to address a few, I have not taken all the questions. Whether it can be supplied abroad, yes, of course. As we are machinery suppliers, we can supply across the globe and provide the service technology support. If we are able to do it in Nagpur or in Gurgaon, we can do it anywhere. The second question from the product is whether how much can I earn? Now, this is a business model case, and Probably when we go into understanding the business model, how it can be sustainable and how the economics can be balanced, we'll find a solution. We'll find those answers. And the third is related to what Sridhar was talking about. Can we have a portable, maybe it's not portable, portable houses with respect to these bricks? So we had a discussion with Sridhar, and we are working on. We have been designing a few interlocking bricks where you can dismantle, you can assemble, and of course the weight is lower than the red brick by 25 to 40% depending on the design. And there are several such questions. What we have done is at the end of the session, we'll share a summary which we have tabulated as a frequently asked questions on product, process, people, all the 4 Ps, which takes me to the next part, which is the process. And I think process-wise, as a technology, a lot of things have been shown in multiple videos in our presentation. I don't think we need to deliberate much on this. But what important part of this process is also the service and training network. And like Nihar has shared that they have a vocational school. Rhino Machines is into manufacturing, so we can collaborate together and see that we can replicate, and the systems can be easily support with the local resources available. There were some questions on the process of what kinds of plastics can be used, and in this slide you can see PET, HDP, LDP, PC. These are the plastics is already used. We have tried with foundry dust. We have tried with dust from the steel plant. We have tried with dust from the marble stone crusher. People were making pota stone and marble cutting. We have made with that dust. And there have been requests to try out different materials. So yes, we are open to doing the trials. We have a pilot facility at Anand, and we can understand the input material and try out with different kinds of plastic. So there were a few questions which had come up, whether we can use less than 40 micron plastic. Yes, we can use. Addition of color is something which we may not be able to do, because we must consider that 70% of the material which is coming is black dust, and it's not possible to put a pigment, but we can do some trials and again do some R&D on only having a surface material separate and the inner material separate, which is something like cladding. This would be a product development exercise. We have used multi-layer plastics. Yes. The cost of the brick comparison is there in our presentations, and we'll share that with you. And if the comparison will depend from city to city, geographically it will vary. It will depend on the components of labor cost, energy cost. All have to be considered when we are looking at the cost. As far as fireproof is concerned, Peter has given from an architect perspective that yes, they may have issues with fireproof, and that's why we look at external use. And as far as bonding is concerned, we have constructed walls in our own premises, and there are some compost pits which have been made. We use normal cement mortar, and it works equally well. So these are from the process side. And
can I add to that one more thing? I think there's a very important and a significant aspect of this particular. See, the idea of recycling and sustainability is something that is deep rooted. When you talk about recycling, it's just not about taking X as a waste and making it into Y. In this particular case, when you say first generation, you made bricks and you made a structure out of it. After 20 years of its utilization, you can very easily break this down, recycle those bricks all over again, shred it back, and make it becomes a third generation out of it. So we are looking at a product which is multi-generational. It's not just one aspect finish, and after that, what is it? It's about taking that product, bringing it back to the machine, and reconstructing it into a new form. So 20, 30 years from now, the product can continue to live beyond its existence. So that's what is more significant about it.
So let me now invite Arnab to explain why he's here and what Empretech is doing with this project.
Thank you very much, Manish. Such a pleasure to be here. It was absolutely fascinating, just to be able to understand how a product is coming to life. And by a product, I don't mean the brick. I mean the ecosystem, the various partners, the strategic components to this partnership, the more tactical and the immediate and the business considerations, for example, all of this coming together. So it really is the making of what we call in the UN Empretech system a value chain that delivers a solution. So Empretech is a program that promotes entrepreneurship. It promotes high impact entrepreneurship. And what we do here is identify the players in the value chain and provide them with a toolbox. And that toolbox is agnostic to industry. It's agnostic to the product, the very specific product that you're using. And here, for example, we could be talking bricks, we could be talking masks, we could be talking something else. But the idea is that the toolbox allows you to communicate with each other member in that value chain and with the environment, with your customers, with suppliers and others who may be even outside of that value chain in a common language. And that language comprises very specific input on how good business is done. So it's about being a good entrepreneur. What is it to be a good entrepreneur? What are the components of good entrepreneurship? How is it to do business in a good way, in an ethical way, in a sustainable way, in a way that impacts community? So the components of that toolbox, the elements of the toolbox are really the stuff of a good amount of development that the UN has done over 30 years now to understand what it is to be a good entrepreneur. And we do this at 3 levels. The first level would be the group of one, which is at a personal level. So we work on something called entrepreneurial competencies at a personal level. And this has nothing to do with skills. It has more to do with culture. It's to do with behavior of entrepreneurs. And good entrepreneurs behave apparently in a certain way, and not so good entrepreneurs or struggling entrepreneurs do not behave in exactly those ways. So what the UN has done is it's been able to distill a system of behaviors that good entrepreneurs demonstrate and not so good entrepreneurs or struggling entrepreneurs fail to demonstrate. So all of that goes into the toolbox that's used at a personal level. Now, when there are a group of persons that are involved in a project, for example, or in a company setting, what we see is that these behaviors at a personal level rub off at an enterprise level. So the enterprise starts behaving in a certain way. So Rhino, for example, is demonstrating quite a few entrepreneurial competencies. In many ways, Rhino is, of course, it's an enterprise, but it's also a coming together of entrepreneurial components from, let's say, from a demand for efficiency and quality perspective, from someone at R&D who's working on how to make the bricks more competitive in the marketplace. It's someone who's looking at components of with respect to utilization, making it more relevant and useful to the marketplace. The kind of examples that we've heard from Nihar. So that's more about understanding risk and the riskiness of making investments in certain product lines that may or may not be taken up in a marketplace. So there is a component of risk there, or riskiness there. And then, of course, there is systematic planning and monitoring at several levels in a value chain. There is goal setting. Of course, Rhino needs to understand where it is headed and what it's going to take to be able to get there. So planning resources, utilizing resources along the way. We heard from Vasudev how he's putting partnerships together, how he's convincing his NGO partners, his CSR partners. So all of that requires a good amount of persuasion and networking. He spoke about a multi-stakeholder and a multidisciplinary format using which he's rolling out his activities. We also have seen fulfilling commitments in some of what Manish is doing. And when Manish was talking about putting together a product and investing in the product before it becomes a commercial success, there is obviously a good deal of commitment in there. We also have seen opportunity seeking and initiative at various levels. So these are the building blocks. They're not really your SPBs, but these are the blocks on which the SPP business could potentially rest. So I'm going to just end by saying this, that of course, and I'd be happy to take any questions you may have. It's look at this as a binding agent. It's a language, it's a cultural input that brings all partners together to cement themselves into a coherent, sustainable business value chain. A business value chain that's resilient and that's competitive, and one that is based on behavior and behavioral attributes. So thank you very much, Manish, and I wish you all the very best. And I'm confident that
So these are some questions, Arnab, which came up, which are specific to the subject we are talking about. And one of the key reasons why I requested Empretech to be part of this engagement is just because there's a product we are talking about, but there is also a sustainability of this entire. And one of the most exciting things for me has been the number of youth who have been connecting with me on this subject, from institutions from far off. Maybe it's quite a few may not have been able to connect. Quite a few may not be able to converse in English also. But I could feel the energy at the youth is very high. The awareness towards the environment is very high. And this first line was a question which was asked to me of what is the message you would like to convey to youngsters? And I had to think what kind of a message. And so instead of being, idea came, why not get everybody together and let's start thinking together. So we have young people like Vasudev, Nihar, who are demonstrating how they can incubate themselves with an existing SME. And for me, that is one of the messages which I always try to give, that Empretech is one of the platforms where I've been able to use this platform to incubate the youth with me in my organization, outside my organization. And this is where the people connect comes in for making this project sustainable. And of course, to start a business, Nihar has shared her background, Vasudev has shared. There have been different ways. And earning, again, is subjective to how you put the business model, which once you understand the risks and opportunities, probably you can do. So this is from the people perspective, and all this youth energy, and I suppose most of the people who have joined us are all having something common, which is about the planet. This is the fourth P, which is the most important and which binds us together. Is Sridhar has talked about whether this product can be biodegradable. So he's talking about multi-generation recycling. So the question of biodegradable itself has been diluted because you can recycle it. So it does not have it. The disadvantage which the product has been converted into an advantage. The second area is whether it's what if this waste is stopped. So probably we would find another business because wherever as an entrepreneur, what we have started looking at is there's an opportunity in every problem. So as I started with COVID, when we had the problem of lockdown, we saw it as an opportunity to put our mind inside the recycling project, into the mask project. So all we cannot predict the future, but we can at least understand how to run a business, and we can quickly switch over to and see the changes and switch over. Which brings to me this equation of the three coming together will become is what could represent a planet where we can look at resource efficiency, looking at climate change, looking at partnerships, community building, and it can go across the world. It can go across the micro level inside talukas, panchayats. So there is no limitation to where this project can go. So at the end, before we start taking questions, this is what I would put as call to action after having listened to all of this. Is personally as an organization, we are very much interested to use Empretec as a binding agent and working with startups, youth as interns and incubate them and see that how much we can align them to the roster of good practices which are defined with a lot of research done. Second, CSRs may like to find initiatives which can do an impact, and what Vasudev shared was an example. So we can invite more CSRs and where they can partner with local NGOs through a system of entrepreneurs, incubated again through an Empretec system would be a sustainable solution. And let's look to make the planet a much beautiful and better place to live in. So thank you very much. And we have 12 minutes or more, and we can take up questions if there are from any of the participants. You may just switch on your mic and put in a question, or you can put it in the chat box. So I had this idea came. Manikandan, I think, is there in the. There's a youth in Chennai who asked me this question, sir. How can I do this? So I hope Manikandan you could be able to. We were able to give some of the answers.
Yes, sir. Good evening, first of all. I have a lot of doubts on when I'm going to approach my company officers. So asking the first question is it is a fire break, it is a fireproof. So I can able to say that
Right.
I said this is a fireproof, and it will not spread the fire. Yeah, it will melt the brick, but our main concern is our main focus is we are going to make a paver block and tiles and one more then brick. This kind of questions I said.
Okay.
And they asked me what is the strength and what is the weight of the brick. So these are the main questions I have.
The specific questions we'll share with you as far as the weight and everything is concerned. If you go to our website,
Okay.
Whatever products we have developed right now, the product
Okay.
specifications, the test reports are there on our website.
Mhm.
And if there's still something more, so I have my two colleagues who I would like to acknowledge, Rajnikant Pagdar and Yogesh Chauhan. They have been working on this project for 2 years, and they have complete in-depth knowledge of this entire process,
Okay.
block by block.
Mhm.
And it would not have happened if we did not work as a team. And even today, there are a lot of developments which are done by Rajnikant and Yogesh. So
Okay. Yes, sir.
what you see is, you can see me in the front, but there's a lot behind me which is supporting. And
Yes.
all the questions which you have, they'll definitely be able to answer you.
Sure, sure.
But your key question about the fire, and that's where when Sridhar has mentioned, for us, this was a question which came to our mind also. And when we started talking to Sridhar, he said,
Yes,
why
sir.
are you looking only at putting the brick inside the building? There's so many places to put this material outside the building.
Yeah, I mean, let's take the brick outside. There's lots and lots of opportunities to utilize in public infrastructure. We will be in a position to address fire shortly, but I think that fire is a very complex topic, and the kind of testing involved within fire rating and the kind of fire agencies involved is a little more complicated. Unfortunately, right now, due to the COVID uncertainties, we are not in a position to confirm and do that, because you need a larger quantum of bricks to test it out and a larger array of tests to perform to exactly tell you whether, where you can specifically use it and where you cannot use it.
Okay.
So if you have any more questions,
Good
yes,
evening.
Rakeshji?
Manish, can I take a minute? Rakesh here from Delhi.
Sure, please, welcome.
Thank you very much, Manish, for inviting me. And I'm not sure if Dr. I am associated with Merino Industries. They are
Yes.
a Hapur
Yesterday I spoke.
organization. And Sridhar would know that Merino makes laminates and other building blocks. But what got me talking to you, Manish, for the benefit of others in the webinar, is the fact that at Hapur we use the sawdust and the rice husk as the prime fuels, and we generate about 10 tons of this agro ash every day. And as of now, we kind of just throw it away as a landfill, and we have experimented with doing some bit of work on developing crop specific nutrients out of this, but still 10 tons is huge quantity. And we've been looking at how to make more economic use of this agro ash. And given companies' commitment to environment and sustainability, we've been working actively to pursue multiple opportunities and multiple paths, and that's what led me to talking to you after seeing your video. So if we can crack this utilization of agro ash, which is high in silica content, then we'll have huge amounts of material available to be used in the marketplace in a manner that that will create win-win for the consumers and also for the environment. So on next steps, we will kind of connect with you to see how we can synergize and identify a solution for it. And it'll be very heartening to see how we can be associated with Empretec as an organization, because Merino is extremely committed. Its motto is ethics, economy, and excellence. And it has stood the rigors of the marketplace, and Merino laminates have got good name and are synonymous with the quality. But we want to learn. It's an opportunity for us to learn from the experience of others. So specific action items on our side is to see how we can collaborate with Manish, and how we can leverage from the experience of Empretec toolbox, and how we can carry forward the synergistic approach with architects like Sridhar and others to see how we can create a win-win. That's the thought process.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And yes, actually, we talked only yesterday, and so I saw that your organization. I visit the website also during this time, and so this discussion is not limited to SPB just for sort of thought, because we are not talking of SPB. We are talking of sustainable solutions. And sustainable solutions can come in any shape, size, material. SPB to me is just one example of what are the possibilities in our country, or what are the possibilities in recycling. Yesterday you had shared that whatever you have done development, you have got a compost which could be very rich in nutrient. And since there are participants from across the country, maybe representing from south, north, one of the advantages of working with Empratech is that we are able to bring everybody together on one platform for any technology, any background, any geography, and stitch them together. So, and like we saw, there's a message, I think people are already manufacturing from ash. So there, it may be possible.
Rightly said, Manish. As I mentioned to you, Marino has been able to crack the challenge of stubble burning, and we have found the way to, for example, convert the stubble into organic manure. This was more like a community initiative. We are running a pilot plant, and we'll be happy to showcase this to anyone who wants to take it forward.
Sure. So there are so many different. See again, one just thought which I would like to share is I was about 2.5 years ago. I was in a interactive session, and there was one number which stuck to my mind when somebody told me that our global resource efficiency is only 22%. It's only 22%, and when you're talking of recycling, we are trying to do is lift that 22% for our future generations. So every material which is not recycled and it is thrown away is going to contribute to reducing the efficiency. And when you're looking, and recycling requires a lot of community coming together. So even whether it is plastic waste collection, there was a challenge for collecting plastic waste for us. Now, we as citizens are transferring the entire responsibility to the municipal corporation. What we have been trying to do is, it is not only the responsibility of municipal corporations, it is also the responsibility of individuals. So if we are able to do, and in Baroda, Nihar has been able to do this with multiple societies, where societies are collecting the plastic and we are channelizing the collection into the SP plant in Anand. So we are not mixing the plastic and then segregating. That is also a resource efficiency problem. So everywhere, if we as citizens come together as a community, bound by a common thought process, yes, a lot of things are possible. Thank you for sharing that thought. And there is a message about using brake liner dust. There is messages about different materials. So I think there is a lot of scope. If you are able to identify these are the wastes available in our country, then it would be as good as gold in our country. So any more thoughts before we can close the session? Srinidhi has raised her hand. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah,
hello, good evening, everyone. So this is Srinidhi here.
Good evening.
So I'm representing a group of 8 to 10 friends of mine who are involved in a waste collection drive. So we are not funded or backed by any of the organization. It is just a youth initiative that is driving this. And we are connecting the multi-layer packaging waste to a cement plant where they are using it through pyrolysis and using it as an alternate fuel for their factory. So I just wanted to know how can a small player like us, who is into like just twice a month drive, managing to collect 60 to 70 kg of packaging waste, be integrated into your value chain, or be an alternate supplier for a pack waste that you use as a part of your.
So which city are you in, if I may ask?
So I'm from Mumbai. So there's a small town called Dombivli in Mumbai. So a group of 8 to 10 friends, we are carrying this drive.
So I suppose there would be quite a number of people in Mumbai. Mumbai is not small, and not a, so it's just connecting the dots. So it's about aggregating people together, right, through a common platform, and maybe we can keep this discussion going on. We'll find a way where we can stay connected, and if you're able to find somebody near Mumbai, near Pune, or in Dombivli area, Thane area, where so it's again, as Vasudev also mentioned, it's about bringing together a multi-stakeholder ecosystem. And if the youth are what we are doing in Baroda actually is very similar. Since we have a SPV plant in Anand, which is around 40 kilometers, we are, in Anand and in Baroda, we are doing the same collection drive, and we are finding a way to collect it. Now it's all about finding a host in Dombivli, and yes, you can connect with Nihar. So I'll put my email ID, or you must be having my WhatsApp number. I'll put my email ID number, and we can see how we can work together. So I suppose bringing together the community could be very useful to take this drive forward is definitely possible. So any more questions?
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir. Can I ask some questions? Sir, this is Syed Mudassir from Oman, sir. I want to ask some questions on behalf of my colleagues. We are working on some projects, sir. Recently, we started doing research on this, and we have collected some literature on this recycling of plastic as well as sand into the bricks. And then we found that one, this your work also. And recently, I have contacted you and sent you mail also. And regarding this, some of the questions mine, it was displayed during your presentation. And one question is that this currently your company, Rhino company, is working on mass production for the bricks and all. So all these machineries, can these machineries will be manufactured by Rhino, or it will be supplied by somewhere else? If it is manufactured by Rhino, then can we request for the small production, like a small size hydraulic machine, or that blender machine or something else, whatever we are using here?
Surely. So first of all, yes, and we have already talked about this. The machines are produced by Rhino, but there is also one more step to this. And what we are doing with Empretec is, over a period of time, we would like to transfer the manufacturing of the machine where the machine is being used, or in the region itself. So the technology can also be transferred through a system, if you are able to absorb that technology and build that capacity to absorb. The second is sizing of the machine. Yes, see, this has just started. We can always experiment with a 10 kg per hour to a 500 kg per hour. It's all about calculation, and Rajnikant, Yogesh, I'm sure will be able to come out with solutions. We have to only see the viability of this project. Apart from that, technically, I don't see any issue.
Okay.
So Mr. Gautam has raised your hand. So kindly go ahead with unmute yourself, please.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to know, since we'll be melting plastics, whatever spent gas that comes out, is it under some kind of emission norms, or I mean, is it harmful? It's definitely harmful. I mean, do we have to work on it to how to control it or how to keep it under emission norms?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, this is a common question which I have always been asked. So first of all, we are not melting the plastic. We are heating to 150, 200 degrees centigrade, where it becomes. I would say it's a melt, not 100% only plastic is enclosed inside an extruder screw. So it's not directly exposed. The extent of fumes are not very high. There are a little bit of fumes. And at the place where the fumes are generated, we need a very small wet scrubber dust collect system where we are able to clean the air before it is discharged into the atmosphere. So we don't find any toxic gases going out into the atmosphere as per the system. And the quantity is very, very low. Even if you take the quantity of water which is used in the scrubber is maybe once in a month, you may have to replace 100 or liters of water. The exact details, of course, can be shared by Rajnikant over email or WhatsApp, but we don't find a huge fume generation in the, and it also depends on the type of plastic you're using. Sometimes you can get plastic which is not very good, and so we take care, and so that's why we highlighted these are the kinds of plastic which can be used.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everybody for patiently joining in and listening to us. So thank you Arnab, Rajnikant, Yogesh, Sridhar, Nihar, Vasudev, and all the participants for. And if you have some few last words for everybody.
Thank you for having us. Glad to have been invited on this platform to share our idea of what the SPV means to us in the larger architectural sense.
Arnab?
Well, I'm a bit of a philosopher here, so I'm so to step back from doing what you're doing and figuring out the right way to approach what you're doing would be my, a little bit of a submission here. There are many young people in this forum who've been listening in, who've been doing various things, as you said, channelizing a lot of energies in different directions. One good thing for someone like a Vasudev that one can emulate would be to step back, which Vasudev I know has done, because he's also a product of Empretech. The methodology, he understands the system. So what he's been able to do is to step back from doing what he was doing, which is going single-mindedly and following a dream that he may have dreamt up, and stepping back from that and to put together the pieces so that ultimately it all makes sense and it adds up and it becomes sustainable for him as well, so that he doesn't get hurt in the end. So yeah, I'd suggest be a little philosophical about what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Manish.
And the two young people, Nihar and Vasudev.
Yeah, so first thing, I've just posted my contact details. And great to have people interested in something like this, and let's work all together. I can see there's so many people of us with so many ranges. Let's work together to create a larger ecosystem, is what I would say. And we're all there to share our mistakes and little victories. So let's do that together. That's all.
Vasudev bhai from Nagpur. Thank you for joining in. You're always running around. I don't think this. So we'll close this meeting. Thank you so much. Namaskar.